All right, the computer-generated voice just told me that it's recording, so I guess we're live. This is Brian Alvis. I saw on the internet that he had written a book about Prohibition era booze smuggling in Southern Illinois, where I'm from, and I love booze. I love Southern Illinois. I don't love Prohibition, and I don't even really like books. So this is going to be my version of the this is the audio version of the book for me. I get to get all the info and the stories and all that cool shit. And
I'm gonna make you like books by the end of this. I promise.
no, you're not. I had a very beautiful ex-girlfriend at one time who was quite a bookworm, and she's
Oh well, if she can't do it, then
much better looking than you or I.
right, yeah.
I never. It's not that I don't like books. It's that if I'm in that kind of headspace, I'm usually playing music.
Right.
It's more of just
gotcha. Yeah.
Oh, and if I'm looking to like wind down, I'm usually like either podcasts or like a good TV series nowadays.
Audiobooks? You like audiobooks?
I do, but I don't like the formats. Like
right.
What is it? Audible?
Audible, yes. Spotify.
Yeah, but you got to buy them, and they're like $1,000, and I'm just like,
right.
I'd rather just go listen to some ASAP Rocky and not have to.
right.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. It's very very odd. So tell people about your book, please.
Okay, so Bootlegger is the second book. I'm an author, and my fiance is a photographer, and so we make books together. So she takes all the pictures, and then I write the story based upon those pictures.
Right.
And so the first one we did is called Shipwrecked. And
take the photos first and then you write the story based off that, or is it kind of it just intermingles, or is it like who's pulling?
No, she takes the photos first and then we storyboard them like you would a movie.
But you guys have an idea of the theme of the story. It's not like she's taking photos and then you're writing based off of like.
We have a skeleton.
Okay, yeah.
And then we fill in the organs and then we put on the skin.
All right. Very what was that? Contact? That game in the 80s? That guy? Anyway, all right.
Yes. So she came to me one day and was like, I'm gonna do a photo shoot today at Wren Lake and I'm gonna tell a story. And I was like, okay, whatever. And she went down there to Wren Lake with a makeup artist and a couple models. And she came back later that evening after I had like mowed the lawn or whatever, and she sat down and she showed me like, look, I've told a story with these pictures. And I was like, holy shit, you did. And we got to brainstorming at the kitchen table. And a couple of weeks later, I sat down and wrote the story that went along with the pictures. And it was about a sailor who wrecked his boat and he found a beautiful sea creature on this island. And then, something happens or whatever. But it's a short story, very small book. We self-published it. And then we were in Salem, Illinois, doing a book signing at this little like handmade craft store. And this lady walks in and buys a book and says, I own a publishing house. What's your next idea? And we already had Bootlegger in mind. So Bootlegger is about two sisters who run a gang of moonshiners in 1920s era Southern Illinois. And so we told her about that, and she was like, you want to sign a contract? And we were like, yes, we do. So a couple of weeks later, we met at Denny's in Salem and signed a contract.
The only place to do business in Salem is at a Denny's.
Like, right?
Yeah, Denny's weird. Yeah, it's
I literally had an out-of-body experience. I was like out of my body watching myself sign a contract.
That's pretty awesome.
Of my childhood dream. I wanted to be a writer since I was the tiny tyke. So,
Yeah.
you know, it was a big
I
deal for me.
I was actually watching a podcast earlier with Lex Friedman and Matthew McConaughey, and Matthew McConaughey was talking about how he's all into like stoplights, I guess Matthew McConaughey is, but he was talking about how like if you're
Yes.
he wrote a book called Green Lights, and that's why he's
Yes.
big into this metaphor. And he was talking about how like you hit that red light on the way to the diner and it takes 30 seconds, and then you you're pissed because you hit this red light and you're in a hurry. But then you get to the diner and this girl passes by, you say good morning, she says good morning, and then you guys end up going on a date. Year or two later, you're married, then you're having kids, you have a family, and it's all because of that red light that you thought was a nuisance, you know. But it's funny how things just
Right.
like, not to say that you didn't put in the effort to be at a book signing. This is a little different, but it's pretty
I don't
wild
know.
that that woman was there and had, you know, a fucking publishing company.
Right. Exactly. And so the whole time that we were creating Bootlegger, there was this sense of everything is just falling into place. And every step of the way, it was like everything just fell into place, you know, as it should be. And so we were like, okay, we're on the right path. We're doing the right thing. You know, because me and my fiance are doing this together, and that's difficult for couples to not only like just be together, but like create
Oh
and
yeah.
like, you know what I mean?
I have a friend of mine that runs a business with his wife. Well, actually,
Yes.
his soon to be ex, I believe. And I can't even, I mean, no way. Like,
Yeah, it's
no.
difficult.
I mean,
But
I've had ex-girlfriends say about me to members of my band, I wouldn't want to be in a band with them, you know, like, and I get it, you know what I mean? So
no, I get it.
I can't
Yeah,
even
yeah.
imagine. Ugh. But it also has to draw you guys. See, that's the thing though, like doing something creative with someone that you love, although it can like stir the shit pot and make arguments and everything, it also brings you, almost gives you a clearer understanding of the other person in a lot of ways, I think.
Yes, and
Personally.
it clears the path for communication
Yes, yes,
because we have to communicate if we want to put out this book. If we want to do this, we
absolutely.
have to like come to a
Yeah.
certain agreement that I'm going to say that this picture is not good enough, or you're going to say that, you know, that paragraph really doesn't capture the essence of that picture or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So we have those difficult conversations, and we do it in a very gentle way. So,
It's the only way.
yeah,
That's the only way.
it is because,
And it's
you
so
know,
hard to
artists are so sensitive.
it's so hard to not be defensive when
Yes,
someone is giving you constructive criticism. Like, but
yes,
the funny thing is for me with creative endeavors, like if I write a song, for example, and someone tells me, well, I don't really like that, I'll generally be like, okay, I do. That's why it's in there.
right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, but songwriting for me is such a like, I think I've maybe written one or two songs in my life with other people. You know, like I always just write the whole song, and then if I have a band, we play it or whatever. And it is something that I would really, really like to get into. I have a friend of mine who's a pretty successful musician, and she and I have written one song together that we never finished. We did this like years ago, but it was such a fun exercise to like to sit and kind of play with that idea. And I've got another friend of mine, a dude that I am gonna try to write some songs with, and he's been throwing songs at me and like asking me to help him with lines and shit. And it's
Right.
really kind of gotten me into the idea of collaboration. I've just always felt like, at least with my medium anyway, with like music, that it's so personal and
Yes.
very rarely, although it may sound fictional, it's not. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I'll use allegory or metaphor, or some, you know, whatever. And like, even though it may sound like it's about something else, it's about a very real emotion that I'm going through And that's generally why I write, is because it's therapeutic, you know.
Well, it's the veil.
Yes.
You create this veil of, this is really not about me, but it is. You know what I mean?
Or the other alternative to that is I just wrote a song recently called Taxi Driver, and I've never seen that movie.
Really?
Never. Until
Fantastic.
I was fucking
Gives you a whole new version of Robert De Niro.
I got fucked up and I was playing piano and singing just because I was kind of having anxiety. And so I rapped out a few lyrics about anxiety and shit. And then like I think I said, what are the lyrics? It's like, got a little too high, started playing piano, minutes went to seconds, seconds to nano. And then I was just playing it, that I freestyled all that. And then I was like, started feeling like Robert De Niro. And I was like, in Taxi Driver. So then after I wrote that first verse and had that melody, I actually like rented Taxi Driver and watched it and then wrote while watching it. And it
Really
turned into something that was like almost like I tried to like feel, I tried to empathize as much as I could with the character in Taxi Driver and then see how, because I mean, that character is kind of in everybody, but it's like
he's an epic character, yes.
Yeah, and it's like there's a part of that character kind of in everybody, and it was weird to almost explore my own shit, even though I don't feel like that character in Taxi Driver, but there's parts of me that do. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Well, that's what movies are supposed to do.
That was
right?
the most long-winded way to say that my medium is different, and it's very like what I was trying to get at was sometimes songs are personal, but sometimes there's just some bullshit you'll freestyle where then you're like Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver. Now I can go this. Now I like watch the movie and try to finish and be inspired by that to finish these lyrics. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I write poetry.
Okay.
And so sometimes, my poetry is like extremely personal, something that happened to me, or, something that I'm feeling or whatever. But other times I'll just like write a poem about how shitty of a president Ronald Reagan was or whatever, like just.
What's that? Have you got that poem handy? Have you got that poem handy?
No, I can't reveal that to the public at this point in time.
I would love for you to read that. Reagan is such a divisive figure, man.
I know, right?
And I don't know. I feel like the 80s ruined America.
A B-rated actor who became president.
Yeah, it's like Donald Trump.
And was literally controlled by his wife and his vice president.
I don't know. I mean, like, I'm pretty fucking.
I don't think he was smart enough to run the world. Like,
well, yeah.
Nancy and George Bush.
But neither is fucking Joe Biden. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like.
Right, exactly, yes.
It's like, well, what is this bullshit? And yeah, I mean,
right.
Dude, we could go down.
We're just rolling out these stooges.
I was talking to somebody. I know this guy that's really Republican. I've been on his podcast before, and he's been on mine. And he wrote me and like sent me this. And I fucking hated Trump. And he sent me like this thing about someone speaking on Trump and like an opinion piece for like 4.5 minutes. And and it was all about like with everything Trump is going through right now. Like this guy was essentially saying, there's no way that this much opposition would be put against Trump unless there was like something he's opposing that's very powerful, and which is, look, I took this with a grain of salt, but I also see what they were saying.
Right.
But like the long and the short of it is, to me, that's what I wrote back to this dude. I was like, the long and the short of it is like, Trump's always been a grifter. It's not about, and I said the guy
always been a grifter.
Yeah, and it's like at the end of the day,
always since the 70s,
always. And so it's like I told the dude who loves Trump and is like super Republican. I was like,
isn't that weird?
What's that?
That people like love him, like You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, of
I've
course.
never seen a politician that people like go this far
I
for.
would say, dude, I would say
I
I was like that with Obama.
It's really
Oh,
weird to me
for
that they
me,
like
dude, for
how
me,
a dude from Southern Illinois relates to a New York City con man.
well, this dude's from Kentucky, but like,
Or whatever. Yeah. Same
but for
place.
me, like, I think that I was that way with Obama. Like, I really loved Obama, and I mean, I think that was the best president that I'll
Did
ever.
you buy Obama t-shirts? And did you wear Obama hats?
I did have a T-shirt at one point that had Obama on it. It was I found it at a thrift store, and it was one of
Did
the.
you buy it?
I bought it at a thrift store for like $2, and it didn't even really fit. Luckily, when I got it, I was
What
going.
I'm saying is it's weird that he's selling merchandise
Oh, I understand.
and you have to pay to get into his rallies.
I mean,
That's
everybody.
weird to me.
I know, but
You know what I mean?
everybody wants to party. I mean,
I mean,
everybody
I
wants
get
to
it,
party,
but
and everybody wants to go to a thing that I don't know. I mean, if you think about it, like with everything that's going on the left, these people just want to maybe go somewhere where it's like, I don't feel like a piece of shit. I feel good. You know, it's like church.
oh, I totally get it.
It's just,
It's 1984, 2 minutes of hate. I mean,
I'm not that familiar with the old Orwell. Is that Orwell that wrote that shit? Or that
yes,
Orwell did the film?
1984.
Yeah.
I mean, he pretty much predicted all this happening. If you really read it,
Who
and
is it? It's him and somebody else that wrote a book that are both very similar. And one was like,
Aldous Huxley,
yes, which is what?
Brave New World.
That's it. I've read parts of that, and I thought that was pretty
You
cool.
would love Aldous Huxley. Look up some of Aldous Huxley's speeches
You will
and
not convince me to like books. You will not convince me to like books. Nah.
Oh, I'm well on my way. The brainwashing is just only begun.
I know how to read, but I just don't. You know, I don't really like get that into the old literary world. But yeah, it's wild, man. The whole thing is like I look at like I have a thing of Michael Jordan above my computer, like behind here where you can't see. And
Michael Jordan, yes.
yeah, it's just like a canvas of Michael Jordan's last shot and when he was in 23. It's like I fucking love it. I think I talk about it all the time on this shit. So if you've heard this, I'm sorry. But like,
was it against the Utah Jazz?
yes, and in the photo, my favorite thing about the photo is it's black and white, except for Jordan. He's all in color and the ball. But the thing of it is the crowd. If you look, there's like probably 300 people in the photo in the crowd, and it's like clear. You can see the emotion on their face. And so every all Jazz fan is going, but like, because they know it's about to happen. He's going to win the game.
Oh, yeah. They know it's coming.
So crazy. But like, with that kind of thing, with Jordan, for example, with this ideology, like, not an ideology, but like, you know, a golden god or whatever. Jordan had like numbers to back it up. So Jordan was thrilling to watch. Jordan was amazing. Sports are very pragmatic. There's a score, you know, it's very like, you know, there's rules. Politics not
there's
like
finality.
Yeah, and politics aren't like that. Politics are like subjective, period.
Yes.
So it's this thing where I can understand why people would rally around Michael Jordan because I'll fucking wear a Jordan jersey because he's the shit. You know what I mean? But with politics and things like that, buying the jersey or the Trump shirt or the Obama hat, it's like, I have an old adage where it's like, if a girl has too many bumper stickers, I'm not going to date her because that's a red flag. Because she's just trying. Well, she's just trying to like, this is who I am.
Right.
And it's like, well, that's probably not even who you are. You just hate who you are. So you're trying to go in the other direction. You know what I'm saying? And like Trump to me is like too many bumper stickers.
Yes.
You know, it's just like the motherfucker.
Everything is a grift.
Everything.
Like literally everything is a grift.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's like for that shit, to me, what I told dude was, you know, it's always been Donald Trump number one, America second. And then I told the old dude, I was like, I think it's pathetic that our choices are Biden, DeSantis,
yes,
and Trump. And like I heard Cornel West is running, and I might vote for him because I like that dude.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think there might be somebody else running that I saw. RFK, I think, might be running, and I might look into that. But the thing of it is, voting for somebody like that has always felt like such a waste of a vote. So it's like,
well,
maybe the
time. I don't know about you, but I think there should be maybe not a president and maybe like a committee. Maybe we should have like 5 or 7 presidents.
Yeah, but you can't have. We already have that with Congress.
No, this would be like a not even Supreme Court. They wouldn't even like hear trials or stuff like that. They would just do presidential stuff, but there's like 7 of them.
Well,
and they represent maybe different regions of like our actual makeup.
Describing Congress, bro. You're describing kind of Congress. You got to have a talking head.
I don't know. That's kind of what we tried to get away from.
I think that it's silly.
That's why we like the Puritans or whatever came to America.
Yeah, but you got to have a talking. But
was to get away from the talking head.
Well, of course, but the thing of it is, like, the president is really not like as far. This is so funny. That's all politics now. Such a funny nut.
I know, right?
It's like, but like it, you know, the Constitution is set up where really the president doesn't have that much power. It's supposed to be the judicial and Congress. And over the years, they've changed the laws, and now it's like presidents are just like, what do they call it when they just write some shit and they're like, boom, it's a law. What is the president when he does that? What's he doing? He doesn't decree it. That's not the word, but like presidential.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but those really don't hold a lot of weight.
Really. They don't, but they do. They become law, and it's like I think Obama was.
They usually get shot down a lot of times.
What is that shit called? It makes me mad. But anyway, like that's really the only power that the president has. The president only really gets to, like, sign off on the shit that Congress sends him. The problem is that Congress never does anything because it's always gridlocked. And so then the president has to do, I wish I wasn't such an idiot, that thing I was just talking about, that I can't remember the word for. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you got to have the talking head, though, to go to like NATO meetings and all that stuff. You got to have a CEO. If you're a company, you got to have a CEO. It sucks.
So I can bring this back around again to the 1920s because, you know, kind of what's happening now where the right wing Christian movement, that was how prohibition got voted in.
Yeah.
Is that the right wing Christian women's temperance movement really kind of teamed up with the KKK.
But in all fairness, though, there was a lot of those Christian white women that were getting punched in the face.
Absolutely. Yes. It was a problem.
Like, you can't, you know, like you can't disregard that.
No. Domestic abuse absolutely drove that movement.
Yeah.
And completely understandable.
Yeah.
But you can't just like blanket, you know, outlaw liquor because what you did was you created a whole black male, you know, black market.
Yeah, the
same
same
created more crime and more, you know. So,
but at the same time, crime is very good for America. Like if you were to just like go full, and I mean this like from an economical point of view, Like, imagine if you just said, all right, it's full anarchy. There's no law anymore. So there's no prisons, there's no police officers. Like, I wonder what that would do to the economy. I feel like it would crush it. No judicial system, no law. Like, it would be crippling. There'd probably be demand for more nurses and doctors because there'd be like five and it'd just be wild. But I mean, it crime, I feel like that way about like the drug thing, like the only reason drugs are illegal is because it makes a shit ton of money for the government and it puts people in prison, which makes money for the prisons. I mean, if you just legalize everything, then you're not getting fentanyl. It's regulated. Like it,
Right.
People want to do it, they're gonna fucking do it. And then you remove all the power from the cartels and shit. And I could go into some like immigrant shit that I heard from a person that I know about the cartels control.
Oh no, there's a strong argument for that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I mean,
fucking rant. You're trying to talk about the temperance movement. I apologize.
No, there is a strong argument, for that, and it could have benefits if it was regulated to a certain point. But I mean, you can't just make like all drugs legal. There has to be like guidelines.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? But you're right, though.
I'm not saying to make it legal to do heroin and then like drive a bus. I'm not saying that. You know what I mean? I'm just saying like within reason, it would just take a lot of the power away from the bad people, the black market, like you said, that was created in the 1920s whenever prohibition went on.
Exactly. And the government didn't realize that, the pathway to heaven is paved by good intentions.
Yeah, the road. What is it? The road to hell is paved.
The road to hell is paved by good intentions.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened in the 1920s. Unfortunately, the gangs kind of took over, and exactly what happened in the 1980s, and that's why I mentioned Reagan earlier.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that with like the crack epidemic and everything.
Yes.
Even though we were providing via the CIA the cocaine that was going to LA, like I don't know if you watch Snowfall on FX, but that's like, have you seen that?
I mean, how many planes have to get crashed full of CIA cocaine before we realize that the CIA is smuggling cocaine?
Have you ever
9, 10, 11? Yeah. How many?
Have you ever seen that show on FX called Snowfall?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I knew about all that. I knew about all that like way before that.
I knew about it too, but I didn't know about it.
Because I read books.
Fuck books.
Seriously though. I literally those guys who experienced that and were the pilots, they wrote books and I read them and it was like, holy shit, like, here's this government trying to ram down this drug war, and you guys are actually the drug dealers.
Yeah, it's all cyclical, like.
I mean, it's public knowledge now. It's not like it's a secret. You know what I mean? Like we all know what the fucking deal is, right?
Of course, but then there's an inclination, I think, within everyone to go, well, that was the Reagan era. That was back then. That's not going on now.
No.
Yeah, dude.
Still happening.
That kind of shit's still going on.
But now it's opium. And we're in the Middle East. And we're doing the same thing. You know what I mean?
So with the opium fields or whatever, the poppy fields over there?
Yeah. I mean, we gotta get those pills from somewhere.
That's a good point. I forgot about that. And then we're full. I think we just solved all of America's problems.
It's a sad state that we live in, that we base our economy off of things that are so fragile.
That's the best way to make money.
It is. I mean, a good way to make a quick buck, but not a great way to run a country.
There's nothing America loves more than a quick buck, man. There's
True.
nothing America loves more than a quick buck. Which is why, back to the prohibition thing, gangsters.
Yes, I mean the gangsters took over and they were like, "Hey, we can make whiskey really cheap,
Yeah,
and we can sell it at a really high price because nobody has any."
yeah,
And so, uh, grandma that was sitting on the front porch making wine was suddenly a criminal.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. She,
and
she didn't
people
get.
didn't think about things like that. Like, your grandpa made beer in the backyard, and all of a sudden he was being arrested,
Oh yeah,
taken to jail.
it's fucking like, to think about that is insane, truly, to me. But it is what it is. So how did
But
you?
the way that they went about it, the temperance movement, they teamed up with the KKK, and that was
Not a good team member. I don't want them on my team.
they had strange bedfellows
If I'm
back in the
playing,
day.
if I'm picking squads for kickball at recess, KKK
Right.
last pick. You know? They're not going on the top of the list.
Well, they kind of saw a mutual agreement that we can
That jazz music.
elect
That
we
jazz
can
music
elect
is
these
bad.
members of Congress under our people that we want in Congress, and they can make laws. And that's how prohibition got passed, is what those two entities
Well,
teamed
I mean,
up, and they elected people that had their same views,
which is
and
hilarious. But
that's how it happened. I mean,
this is hilarious too, because I'd say there's a 95% chance that if it's 1920, whatever the fuck, and you're a member of the KKK, I'd be willing to bet $1 million you're hitting your wife.
well, yeah, if your wife didn't go along with the
But you know what I'm
program, then
saying,
yeah,
man?
you were
Like,
probably
it's
beating
like
the shit out of her.
that might be like America in a nutshell, right there. Is that all these women that were getting beat by their drunken husbands teamed up with the KKK, who was probably beating their wives to get this bullshit law passed that allowed for this to all unfold. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And throughout the 20s, there was no liquor, or whatever. There was liquor, obviously. It's funny because they passed a law and they were like, okay, you get a whole year before it actually goes into effect.
So get
So all
real
the
addicted to it.
yeah, so all the rich
Yeah.
people were like, oh shit, we're gonna stock up.
Yeah.
And they created like mansions that had liquor cellars that were amazing, like, and stocked up as much as they could. And then, bootleggers, they had a whole year to figure out, how the fuck am I going to make enough whiskey or moonshine to for the demand that I know is going to happen, So
it was a bunch of like,
that's why Southern Illinois was such a great place, because we had the Shawnee Forest, where it was a great place to make a still and hide it in the backwoods.
tell me some of these
So
fucking stories. Like that's one thing I wanted to ask you, and I don't care. I was under the impression that the book that you had written was like nonfiction or based off of actual shit. So like if it's not, that's no big deal. I don't care. But if it
it's
is,
not.
it's not. It's just
It's
people.
a so here's what I did. It's historical fiction. I made up a family of moonshiners
Yeah.
and I dropped them into real history.
Okay.
None of the history changes. Everything that happens in history happens in our book, but our family interacts with the characters.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
That, yep.
So what were some of the like? What kind of characters did you develop within this?
And so we wanted to make women the leaders of our moonshining gang. And so
Very
it's two
thing to do.
sisters.
Very popular thing to do in recent years. So I check mark on the marketing. All right.
Well, how that started, I'll give you the behind the scenes of that. Is Robbie did a photo shoot with two ladies on the front doorstep of like an old abandoned storefront in Dahlgren, Illinois.
Where's Doldrin?
And they had the Dahlgren.
Yeah, where's that?
It's in between McLeansboro and Mount Vernon.
Okay. Sorry, I just
little bitty town. Yeah,
really.
like a village.
Okay, all right.
And so they had these kind of retro 90s sort of outfits on, and they're in front of this abandoned storehouse. And I said, that looks like a couple girls waiting on the James gang. And it was just an offhand comment that I made about this picture. And Robbie said, you know what? It'd be cool if our next book was about two girls that ran a gang.
That's pretty cool. That
of
is
moonshiners.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And so we sat at the kitchen table and we brainstormed and we came up with, you know, two sisters that ran a gang of moonshiners, and their uncle made the moonshine, and they're the ones who actually, you know, drove it, delivered it, because I looked up in history that it was normal for back then for women to run the moonshine because the police
would
not stop a woman by herself. They felt it was inappropriate, and something inappropriate can happen, and so they wouldn't even stop a woman by herself in a car.
Wow.
And so a lot of the moonshiners were like, yes, a lot of the moonshiners were like, yeah, have the women run the moonshine because
that's really
cops won't stop them.
Yeah,
so that was the basis. That's how this whole thing started.
Holy shit. Yeah, I had no idea. That particular aspect of history. That's it's also brilliant. It's so brilliant. So like, if you think about it from the bootlegger's point of view, they were smart, dude.
And they made their cars faster.
Yeah.
And they, you know, the reason it was called
that's how fucking NASCAR got started. Fucking NASCAR got started by that shit or whatever.
Yes.
I believe it's NASCAR. Yeah, like that, because of the need to get faster cars to get away from the police.
Exactly.
That's an American innovation.
That's right. And it happened in the mountains of, you know, Shawnee National Forest, right where we grew up, you know. So I always thought that was fascinating, and when Robbie said that, it just clicked something in my brain that was like, oh yeah, I know this history. I've read these books of these moonshiners.
You quit it. You quit it, sir.
But I had my dad.
I'm gonna name the podcast. I'm gonna name the episode. I'm not gonna do this, but I would love to name it "Fuck Books." I might. We'll see. Who knows?
No, you need to read banned books because there's a whole thing about banned books and banned books being from libraries. And I collect banned books.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a good idea. You know, like
my book will probably be banned one day, actually.
I mean, I'm going to say this for your wallet. I hope so. Because if it's banned, here's what's so funny about that is that if your book is banned, then every Trump supporter will buy it. Which won't really be good for your mental state, I don't think, but it'll be good for your wallet. So, I mean, you know, a guy's got to eat. A guy's got to eat.
It'll be good for my mental state because I take things like that and I use them as fuel. You know, that's my gasoline. Like, if you want to tell me, you know, growing up in Salem, Illinois, every person, every teacher, every guidance counselor that I talked to that I was like, yeah, I want to be a writer. They're like, yeah, there's no money in that. You can't make money at that.
The words. I mean, why not?
Right. And I'm like, I'm not about money, you know? So I took that. I took all those comments and all those people I think about all the time when I'm sitting down at my computer to write. And that's my gasoline. You know, that's my fuel.
Yeah. Like,
you told me not to do it.
Yeah.
And so the reason I'm a writer is because you told me not to.
I felt that way a lot with music in a way because
Yes.
I mean, I can't say that. Like I always had, obviously, you had a connection to writing that was, and books that was undeniable, obviously, or you wouldn't love. You, I mean, that's just undeniable. Like I have a love for music, you have a love for
Yeah.
books, and like for me, man, it was weird because being born the way I was born with my hands and everything, like I had this, like I started writing lyrics when I was like 15, and they were bad. And I mean bad.
Right.
I had a purple notebook.
Yeah.
I don't know where it went. They were the worst. But I was like such into the Doors and shit, and like really liked that. And then when I found like it's so dorky to say this, but Hendrix, I've got a Hendrix behind me and a Hendrix on my titty. But like then I wanted to play guitar, but
Right.
I was like, I don't think I can, and all that. And then whenever I went through a lot of trying to play and playing harmonica, and no one had to tell me that I couldn't, because it was like, I don't think I can, just physically. You know what I'm saying? And then I don't know if you remember Zach King. Remember that dude?
I knew Mark King.
Not the same. Zach King was Asian. Mark King is very white. So not the
Right.
same family. But like fucking Zach he was left-handed, and he showed me how to play guitar flipped over upside down.
Really?
Yeah, and was like, well, you can play an E chord, an A minor. And I think that's all he showed me. And then I just, like, as soon as that became a feasible reality, I was just like off to the races. You know what I mean?
Something clicked. Right. Yeah.
Well, I was just like, oh my God, look, I can like, I remember learning that and just sitting around and playing A minor and E over and over again. Like I was like a Spanish person. And like, it was so invigorating, back to what you were saying, to do the thing that I didn't think was possible, even at a very like minimal level. But the beauty of like any kind of artistic endeavor is, I've said endeavor twice in this podcast, but like is that.
See, you're using your language better.
I've said endeavor twice.
You're gonna be reading books by the end of this, I promise you.
I fuck books. But but no, man, like the thrill of doing what either yourself or anybody else told you is not possible, to me, is probably like the most alive I've ever felt. Whenever that,
yes.
Whenever you break through whatever that is, doesn't matter what it is, you know what I mean? And you're like, holy shit, like I am like harnessing the moment and doing this shit that it didn't even seem real,
Yes.
at one point in time. And
there are moments in my life where I'm like, I can't believe that I'm.
And I don't know about
the
you.
lead singer in a hard rock band.
Well,
in front of 4,000 people or whatever.
I don't really know, like, I don't know about you, but I have a tendency to like always want more. I very rarely am like complacent or happy with where I am. It's like, I want more, I want more, I want more, I want more.
Never satisfied.
Never satisfied.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have to remind myself sometimes, I have to go, dude, think about everything you've done, and then think about your 20-year-old self.
Yeah.
Thinking like, because as you start to do things, you become accustomed to them and they become boring or normalized or whatever. And I have to remind myself sometimes that 20-year-old me would be blown away by some of the shit that I've done.
And I wouldn't believe it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and with you,
yeah,
it's like,
wouldn't believe it.
I think that's a healthy thing to remind ourselves of, is like, at one point in time, what we're doing now didn't even seem feasible.
No,
not
even possible.
Even though it's commonplace now, you have to remind yourself that, like, I got here because of this, 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 and this. And back in the day, it didn't even seem like it was plausible at all. But it was. And so that success level thing, which is kind of what your teacher was talking about, being like, no, there's no money in that. It's like, well, there's no money in it, but I can go work at fucking Arby's and play music on the side. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I didn't care about money.
right.
It wasn't about money. It was about like, well, I just want to express myself and like let the world know this is how I feel about things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It had nothing to do with money. I never thought about it being monetized until they said that to me. And then I was like, oh, yeah, it can't be monetized because there's not a price on my thoughts and my feelings. You know what I mean?
My philosophy is so the same as yours, or it was at one point in time. And when I first moved to Paducah, I'd moved to Nashville. I met this girl that lived in Paducah. We dated for like a year and a half, and then, or a year, I think, before I moved here. And then I was like, fuck it, I'll move to Paducah. And when I got here, I got a job, finally landed a good job. And then the financial crisis of 2008 hit. I lost that good job, and there were no jobs to get. And I was collecting unemployment. And she was like a dietitian that made really good money. She was so much more wealthier than I was. And like, and she, I had to come up with a way to make money. And I was like, I'd never played a show ever. And I'd been recording an album in Nashville. And I was like, well, I can fucking take these songs, put them on a CD, sell them. And I guess I got to start fucking playing shows. You know what I mean? To make money.
Right.
I got to keep up with mama, because mama's bringing home the
right.
bank. I'm over here collecting unemployment. Like, what the fuck am I doing? And, I got my shit together. And so for me, like, even to share those intimate things was actually a matter of necessity. And the first show I ever played was here. So, I mean, not first show I ever played, but first like solo show by myself, not opening for somebody else. I'm making money kind of shit. It was all because of money. I didn't even really want to do it. I was kind of terrified of doing it. Didn't like the idea of it. Still don't, to be completely honest with you. Like, going and playing it's not that great. That's why I don't do it anymore. And like, but it's so, that personal thing you're talking about, like that nugget of like truth in your self, and then to be able to tap into that in any way, no matter what that artistic endeavor, third time, is priceless. It's fucking priceless. It's poor man's therapy is what it is. It's a poor man's therapy.
It's true. It's better than going to a therapist.
They're both pretty cool.
And I've been down that road too, but going to an open mic and just reading some poetry, or like, that also kind of does it for me too. So that's why those things are important. And that's why, like, I'm always in support of the arts and, open mics and, people doing weird things, because they're doing those weird things for a reason, Now, obviously, there's a limit to the weird things you can do, but like,
not really.
Coming to an open mic and reading your poetry, that's fantastic. I think every town should have that.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's one thing that, like, I don't, it seems like Salem kind of has more of that kind of sort of going on, but not, I mean, I'm not there and I don't know, but like, it seems like, I know you're in Mount Vernon, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, Paducah is like Mount Vernon with a river. My friend Darren Ingalls said that.
We're kind of sort of progressive here, but not really.
Oh, Paducah's hilarious. Paducah's like, if you come down by the river, it's liberal shit in like the downtown community. And then you've got like the mall area, and then this other place called Lone Oak and Reedland. And like, I've never seen a clickier place. It seems like, yeah, it seems like it's really big, and it's not. Like, I remember when I first moved here, my girlfriend and I at the time went to a bar one weekend, and then the next weekend we went to a different bar that was like on the other side of town. And we saw like a bunch of the same people. And I was like, coming from Nashville, I was like, what the fuck is this? Because in my head, I didn't even look at the population. I was thinking it was like 60, 80,000 people. It's like fucking 25,000 people, dude. It's not a lot
Right.
of people. So Mount Vernon with a river.
Mount Vernon with a river.
And Darren
I
ain't
like
gonna
that.
find that phrase. It was a pretty good one. It was a pretty good one.
We just, well, then, yeah, we just have interstates.
Oh, yeah. You guys have 64 and 57, which is the only reason. I mean, to be honest with you, it's so funny the way that the interstate killed downtowns.
Yes.
Just the way that, like, in a lot of ways, the internet is killing the economy of box stores. And it's just this weird progression of, I mean, you know, it's the circle of life. It's full Elton John Lion King, because you've got
there was a time when people thought TV would not last for very long.
They were wrong, but I mean, you know, in a way, they're kind of right, because like now, no one really has cable, and everybody streams.
That's true.
So it's this weird. It never. I don't know. It never ever stops evolving, and I guess that's the. It's hard to keep up with, you know. It's hard to keep up.
It is. You know, things used to go slower, and now it's like so fast. We can't even keep up with, you know, what's happening.
Yeah, dude. I remember being like, I don't know how old you are. I'm 41. How old are you?
I'll be 47 in September.
So yeah, we both grew up with like not having the computer machine in our pocket and everything. And like,
yeah.
Although, you know, like I was talking to you before we started recording this about how I've been working on cars and shit. If it weren't for the computer pocket, I wouldn't, you know, my dad taught me the basics of like mechanics shit when I was young. And I really appreciate that. But like, if it weren't for YouTube videos and all this shit, like I wouldn't know how to do that. But that's the funny thing about human nature, is that, and myself included, we spend more fucking time on Facebook trying to jack off our fucking ego than we do learning shit, when we have the entirety of all human intelligence in our fucking pocket.
Yes.
I'm guilty of it too. I mean, it's just fucking wild. So,
and I mean, there would be no book. And I mean, yes, I read a lot of physical books, but I mean, there would be no book if it wasn't for the internet, because all that knowledge is available on the internet. Of
course. So
okay, let's get into something weird. Let's take it into
before we go to weird, I'm going to do something even weirder.
Okay.
Which is, I'm going to take a fucking piss because I got to pee real bad and I need to grab a beer. Are you cool with that?
Yes, I'm going to grab a beer too.
Yeah, just take a break. I'll cut this shit out.
All right. Put some like music in there, like some elevator.
Calm down. I might even leave it in. I don't even know. I'll be right back. Man, I hate the fact. You know what I was going to say. I didn't even got to say it. All right. So I'm going to do this. And now we're back. The magic of editing. But you were going to say something wild, and then I had to pee. I don't remember.
All right, so let's talk about our next project.
Okay. Mine, or
like it?
Oh, I think you meant like us. You're saying you and your wife or your fiance. Okay. Sorry,
yes.
I'm confused.
You're gonna like this.
You didn't say anything after that, and I was like, I don't know what my next project is, man. I'm not there yet. Like, I don't know if I can talk about this.
Like, our next project? Holy shit!
No, I got an idea. I got an idea of what mine is. But anyway, yeah, do your thing, man. Tell me about it.
Do you?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
I already know. I've got two options.
Robbie and I, our next project It's called Cyclone. And it's about the tornado that hit Mount Vernon, Illinois in 1888.
I'm
And it leveled.
gonna go ahead and throw in this because I have to.
Mhm.
If you want to dive into some history that you may not know about, but do you know about the one that hit Murfreesboro?
Yes.
My grandma,
1925.
my grandma, and my grandpa were in that. I've got stories about that shit if you want to hear them.
That's in our book, Bootlegger.
For real?
Yes.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
My grandma Gertie told me that that my grandpa Charlie got sucked down 3 flights of stairs in the high school.
Oh, yes, it did hit a school.
Mm-hmm.
He was there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. We're switching it up. We got to talk about this now.
We'll talk about your shit. We can talk about that
No,
later.
no. 1925 tornado is the deadliest tornado in United States history.
I know.
The tri-state tornado.
And it couldn't kill that fucking Baudet blood, son. Yeah, couldn't kill my fucking family.
So tell me the story. What happened to him?
I don't really know. Like, it's such a vague memory. But my grandma told me that that her husband, my grandpa, was in the school and got sucked down 3 flights of stairs, and that's really all I remember. But the thing I definitely remember was the insane PTSD that my grandma had after that, her whole life up until she died at 88. But every time it would storm, we would go get my grandma and bring her to our house because she was terrified.
Wow.
Terrified. Like, if it was fucking thundering, we went and got grandma, and she stayed with me and my folks.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is in the 90s, so this be fucking like 65, 70 years later or whatever. Still,
right,
all the way up to her death. If it fucking thundered and lightning, we went and got grandma, and grandma came to the house.
Huh.
And we had a basement.
So interesting.
Oh, it was, at the time, I didn't even know what PTSD was.
Right.
You know, and I've never actually thought about that until just now. So it's kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, she had that shit till she died. Like, if the thunder hit, if the weather said it was going to storm, didn't matter if there was a tornado warning or a tornado watch. If there was a thunderstorm, we're going to get grandma. She's at the house.
Yeah, no, I know. And I know people like that are severely terrified by thunderstorms and or tornado warnings or whatever.
Yeah.
But the 1925 tornado, you know, when we wrote our book, we had to adhere to a certain timeline. And so we are writing a book about the 1920s in Southern Illinois. You have to write about the tornado.
Yeah.
Because it started in Southeast Missouri and went all the way across Southern Illinois and into Southern Indiana. And it was devastating. And so our family of moonshiners, they kind of pause their business and they go down to the southern towns that were hit, like Murfreesboro and other towns, and they help them recover from the tornado. So so I had to work that in there.
They were like a certain way, like gangster activists.
Yeah, they were Robin Hood type characters.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. If you were on their side, then they would help you out in every way they could. But if you cross them,
that's every gangster. That's every gangster.
You know?
That's every gangster.
Yes.
For real.
Our family was a little bit nicer. They didn't get into the violence as much.
Okay.
But they interact with the Shelton brothers and Charlie Berger, who do, murder people and rob banks and do all kinds of criminal activities. Our family is not so much a criminal gang. They just literally make moonshine and run it.
Yeah, but the
That's
problem
what their main point
is,
is.
like, I mean, in the game, you meet a lot of, in the game of life, but like, you know what I'm saying? People steal your shit.
Oh yeah, they had their muscle and they had their ways of doing things, and so, but I don't make a point of putting that in the book because I don't want to, make that the point. The point of the book really is family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how the family sticks together through all these things that are happening. I don't want to highlight the violence and, the things that happen. I talk about it and I reference it.
And that, this sounds like, to me, I'll have to buy a copy of your book, first of all. I need to do that. I haven't read it. What kind of a cunt am I, by the way? I'm like, hey, I haven't read your book, but let's do an interview. But now
you'll love it. You'll love it.
You've sold me on it. You've sold me on it. And so I like the fact that you chose to take a topic that's very like gangster, really, and make it about family, especially when there is that connection anyway between gangster and family. Like, if you think about the Italian mafia, all that shit, it's like they were very family oriented and like, blood runs everything. And like, I guess blood runs everything is a bit of a double entendre in that situation. But you know what?
Well, I mean, they were our little family. They were making booze and selling it to their friends and family before Prohibition started. And so
kind of like what you were saying earlier, So you were already these little bombs in the conversation for this shit earlier when you said
they were
grandma's
just
making wine, grandpa's
criminals all of a sudden. It was like, how, grandma sitting on the front porch.
I gotta get a new desk chair, dude. I'm sorry, but it's just this thing. Listen to that. It's not good.
Oh yeah, you might fall.
When I fall, I'll get a new chair. This thing sucks. Amazon.com. My desk chair has the rickets. But yeah, sorry. So that is fascinating though. So like without, can you summarize the book in a way that doesn't spoil it for people? And then if you give me a link to where people can purchase it, I can like put that in the description of the video.
Yeah, you can buy the book anywhere you can buy books. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, Target. You can buy it from
Target
publisher.
You guys are in Target?
Target, yes, we're fancy.
Target is French for Target. I don't know if you knew. So it's available everywhere online, and like,
yes.
But I'll get a link and I will put it in the description of the video. That way people have access to it if they want to buy it. But like, what would be your fucking sales pitch? Actually, that's what I'm going to call the podcast, and we're going to wrap it the fuck up because this is perfect. I'm going to call it. What do you want to call it? We got to decide before you do the sales pitch. Do we call it reading sales pitch, book fair, fucking books don't suck?
I like that.
Books don't suck. All right, let's go. Books don't suck. All the episodes, books don't suck. So you give me the sales pitch for your book, and you give me the sales pitch for Books Don't Suck, and then we'll call it.
Can I give you the sales pitch for Bootlegger and the sales pitch for Cyclone?
Of course. Well,
Cyclone. All right, here it goes.
Cyclone's
my
not out
Netflix
yet.
pick.
Is Cyclone out?
No, I'm writing it right now. Like,
All right, well, just yeah. But give me all that. But mainly Bootlegger, since this chair sucks. Well, I'm also gonna put a link to a desk chair in there, so I remember to order one. But so God, I'm gonna do that too. I'm gonna put a link to this desk chair. So if anybody out there,
new desk chair for Chris Black.
no. Like, just I'm gonna put a link to this desk chair so people don't buy it.
Write a bad review.
Buy the book, not the desk chair. Maybe that's the episode. I don't know.
I
But
like it.
all right, yeah, hit me with it. Even but do the goddamn bootlegger thing first, because
Yes.
you know, there it goes again.
All right. So Bootlegger is a old man telling you a story about his childhood in Prohibition era Southern Illinois. And his family is a gang of moonshiners who runs liquor from the Wabash River to the Mississippi, all over southern and central Illinois. And they interact with the famous gangs that were warring against each other at that time. The Charlie Burger Gang and the Shelton Brothers.
Hey, hold on. I love that you burped in the middle of your sales pitch. I'll buy 2 books now.
It had to come out.
I love it.
So yes, our family of moonshiners, known as the Little Rose Gang, named for their nefarious Aunt Rose, who is sort of a wildcat who runs the bars and brothels in Southern Illinois. And so our gang of moonshiners interact with all the nefarious characters that happened in the 1920s Southern Illinois Prohibition era, which was very famous time. They were in the New York Times. They were in the San Francisco Examiner. Like, these people were very known about. There was going to be a movie with very famous characters like Cary Grant and so on and so forth that were going to portray the Shelton brothers. But the deal kind of fell through because they got convicted of, robbing a bank.
I wonder if that's what the names of those guys in that Netflix show about the fucking drunk people in this is the worst description. The drunk people in fucking England. The Shelby brothers, Thomas Shelby, that character that everybody puts him on the internet, and then it just says a quote that he probably didn't say, but his picture's behind it, wearing one of those after the cigarette. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know what you're talking about. But
well, if anybody out there made it this far into the video and knows what show I'm talking about, put it in the comments. And don't buy this fucking chair, and do buy his book.
But the Shelton brothers were from Wayne County in Southern Illinois. And they kind of ran things in not only their territory, but in East St. Louis and Peoria.
Were the Shelby brothers whites?
Yes.
And they ran shit in East St. Louis?
Yes. They literally ran East St. Louis. Like,
the times have changed.
Yes, this was the 1920s.
I know, right? But
right, yeah. So
wild to think about.
Different, totally different landscape.
Mm-hmm. Fucking wild.
Now the brothels, there were brothels, and there were gambling joints, and all of that was illegal, but they kind of did their thing. But
the whites were running East St. Louis in the 20s.
In Peoria.
I don't know much about Peoria.
I don't either, but they had a bar there, and they had a gambling joint there, and they like to rob banks. That was kind of their thing.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. If I lived in the 19 whatever the fucks before digital cameras, robbing banks. I mean,
Oh, you would have definitely been a part of the Shelton Brothers or the Charlie Burger Gang. I could definitely see you as a
I've yeah, but
outlaw
I
for
always
sure.
I always think about shit like that, and I'm like, if I like I've told people before that if I was born in the Wild West, I would either be very quick with a gun or dead. You know, but
Okay, I could see you as like a legendary figure, like the Three-Fingered Man or something. You know what
that
I
was
mean?
good with a gun.
I mean, yeah. Come on now.
They call me. I don't know.
This might be my sixth book right here.
All right, but will you write it like this? They call me they call me Fanny Pack Oakley. And it's I keep my like 22 in a fanny
I
pack.
love it. Yes,
Well,
it's a tiny gun, right?
little tiny gun. It's a pink fanny pack.
You're so quick with it.
But I'm so fucking fast with it that no one will make fun of the pink
Fanny Pack Oakley. I like it.
Yeah, fanny pack Oakley. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It's fun to say too.
Dumb as shit. Oh, so stupid. So stupid.
Is this the best fucking interview you've ever done, or what?
They're all good to me, man. I love everybody. For real. There's not a person I've interviewed on this podcast that I haven't enjoyed talking to. Like, I love it. I love it. I love how different everybody is, and everybody is at least doing something interesting. Like, I don't interview people that aren't doing something interesting. So that
Right. I think we are the only couple that writes books together as a photographer and an author.
you guys are like the white stripes of paper.
There we go. I like that.
Yeah. All right, my man.
The white stripes of the literary world.
Yeah. Maybe I could. You want me to call it that?
I like that. That's good.
What about
The white stripes of the literary world. That's hard to say.
I don't like literary world. The white stripes of paper is better to me. The white stripes.
That's good.
The white.
No, the white stripes of paper.
The white stripes of books.
It's almost poetic.
The white stripes of books.
Yeah, I like it.
I don't know. What do you think? White stripes of paper, white stripes of books, or books don't suck? Which one do you want? It's your call. You're making a call right now, and I'm ending it. Say what?
Books don't suck.
You think so?
Books don't suck. Yep.
I think that's the one.
Yeah.
Man,
it draws attention. It's good.
It was really beautiful talking to you about this. We need to do it again sometime whenever I remember and you remember that we were going to do it. And my neighbor,
I tell you what, how about this? A year from now,
fucking hit me up.
A year from now, we have another interview.
Hit me up. And I'm sorry that I talk so much. Like, I just,
no.
And I get into
I like it.
I'm fascinated by what you're saying. And then I think of something I wouldn't have thought of and I want to run with it. And I was actually watching that Lex Friedman and Matthew McConaughey interview that I was talking about earlier. Lex Friedman is so good because he just shuts the fuck up. He'll just ask a question and then shut the fuck up. Whereas I'm like, I need to say something, you know, and I hate that about myself, but I don't really know. I would think that the podcast would make me better at not doing that, but it has yet to. It's really weird. Hopefully I'll get better at it and just like not turn this thing into just like a fucking crushed up Ritalin for a 13-year-old where it's just all over the fucking place, you know? I don't know, but I got to go outside and get my fucking cat. And I really genuinely appreciate you taking the time to do this. And it was really, really fun. So thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, my man. I'll call you in a minute, but I'm gonna kill this fucker.
All right. Got
One,
it.
on the count of three, let's say it together. Books don't suck. 1, 2, 3. Books
Books
don't
don't suck.
suck. It's so hard to do it in time over Zoom. All right, later.